Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Hemp Truth, Lies and Legends podcast. I'm here with my co-host Michael Klepacz and our guest of today, John Muir, who is from Australia and has a grand history in hemp since 20 years already. He has a small Dutch connection with Albert Dunn from Dunn Agro coming over to Australia to help get the industry started on that side. And he's been taking it up since then and achieved some wonderful things. So we are going to go into this today and explore it together. So John, can you tell a little bit more about yourself? You were talking about some wonderful trials you are setting up in Australia with hemp seed varieties. And I'm also very interested to learn what your journey has been since the last 20 years.
So I'm a bit older than 20 years, so I might just say what I did before that.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a thing in Australia called Landcare, caring for the land. So every village has a Landcare group. It's almost bigger than religion and politics in the villages in the rural Australia. There's about 5,000. And it became a bottom-up grassroots rural community development program. So I ran that in Australia, in the local area, and then I took it globally. So it's now global Landcare. And it's an initiative you'll find in many countries, particularly developing countries. Africa, Philippines is where I did it. But part of that then said, well, what are the new initiatives out there, right? What are the new, the big ones? And here was hemp. After 20 years working in Landcare, I moved and realized hemp. It's the orphan crop. It's the abandoned crop. We've spent billions on corn, rice, wheat. Billions with the research organizations, the Centers for International Irrigation, potatoes, rice, all around the world. But where's hemp? It was abandoned. So we're saying hemp has the potential to be the new we're calling it the new entry point or catalyst for more sustainable farming. That's what Landcare is about, more sustainable farming. We believe hemp could be that knight in shining armor, that some crop that could do that for as a superfood and because it's a quality biomass. So that's why I got into it after 20 years of traveling the world and saying, this plant's got so much going for it. So I then joined Ecofibre in Australia with Phil Warner. He was the pioneer of hemp in Australia. Philip Warner, well worth an interview. He's a philanthropic now. He now puts money back into the industry from Ecofibre. And these many people that are now starting. So that was 20 years ago when I started. And here we are 20 years later. It's legal to grow it. Medicinal is separate. You need licenses. You got to pay money. But which varieties do we grow? We don't. Where did the seed come from? So we've tried, the French hemp IT varieties here for grain. We've tried the Chinese. We've tried the Canadians. So we've got our own varieties. So after 20 years, we still have not progressed a lot because it needs so much investment. The grain industry, yes, you can grow grain and put it through the existing grain system as a superfood. But the biomass, I believe, needs more investment. One little thing that's happening is the fact that cotton gins are now being used to process hemp. We've got 45 in Australia. There's 2 in America now processing hemp. If that can be commercialized, imagine, we won't have to invest billions in hemp processing, like decorticators that cost tens of millions of dollars. So that's just an example of where we are trying to go for the moonshot globally. I'm an agronomist. I try and learn how this plant grows. It never ceases to amaze me. It grows 6 meters in 6 months in Australia. It's a massive crop. In fact, how do you harvest such a massive crop like that? And so that challenges Class and John Deere. And we've even got our own guys have built the world's first mobile decorticator. So a header that can put the herd in the grain bin in field. Have you seen one of them? You've seen the double cut, John Deere and Class, but you have not seen a header that picks up the windrow and puts herd in the bin and the fibre comes out the back. That is world's first. And that's the biggest header you can buy in the world because secondhand, because it just needs that grunt. So I'm going all over the place, so I know you can edit this, but if you want to ask questions or slow me down or, pull me up and ask questions, please do. Or if you want me to focus on anything particular.
Yes.
I have a question really fast. What do you think right now is missing in the biomass sector in Australia? And when you think of biomass, what things are you considering?
So your question is biomass. As I said, we believe that institutional arrangements are there for grain. The only issue is markets and competing with China and France and Canada on the world market. Our price is higher than yours at the moment. Once we get grain hot prices, once yields come up, we're getting 2 tonne a hectare of grain at the moment irrigated. So once that goes up more, we'll be able to compete on the world market or grow at dryland. And I'll talk to you about dryland. So to answer your question, biomass needs this infrastructure. Decortication. How do you handle it? It's like handle rope. So there's lots of equipment out there, but are they appropriate? Are they for the right purpose? Are they suited to the location and the weather? Do you got a ret? There's so many questions in your question that it's not an easy answer. Like, we could go on all day and just talk about that. So to explain that to an investor or someone who's trying to get a hemp, it's all too hard and they walk away. So we've got to make it simple. Don't go for every product. Go for the low-hanging fruit. They might not be the most, the 10,000 a tonne textile for clothing. Right. We've got the Chinese here in Australia. They cannot get enough stuff. So they are here growing stuff and sending hemp stuff back. And they're learning from us and we're learning from them. But the herd's been our big one. With 70% herd in an average stem and our big crops that are too good, too high and tall and long for textiles, my house is made of hempcrete. My house is a hempcrete house.
Wonderful.
It's a block. We haven't got the factory here. So where did I get that from? Holland. So that's the French, the French international company that's trying to sell the factories everywhere. So to answer your question, we don't have the whole supply chain. I cannot get someone to grow it without a contract to do for someone. So they need a contract. They need the seed. They need the right seed at the right time, then to harvest it, then to cart it. It's very light to cart. We've got a big country. We have 4,000 Ks, north, south, east, west. As you said, it's localized. It's got to be regional, Michael. Exactly. If we start carting this around the world, we'll go broke. You're carting air, unless you're carting the final product maybe, but not off-the-shelf farm product. So biomass, the textiles, everyone talks about textiles, but I believe herd is the mainstay for Australia initially, unless all our wool and cotton goes overseas. We do not process any cotton. We're the highest yielding cottons other than Israel in the world, and wool, the biggest wool grower, we do not process anything. So why are we saying we're going to process hemp? Unless we find a market and the machinery and the investors to do some value adding in country. That's the model we would like to do.
And to explore the ideal growth of hemp in Australia and the different markets, you are now setting up field trials, as I understand, for different hemp varieties to see, how do the different seed varieties act in different locations? What is the how do you call it, the opbrengst, the outcome of the hemp, and what is the quality and what is it best suited for? What kind of...
So as we just said, there are varieties for textiles that can't grow too tall. You know, you harvest them at flowering. You don't harvest it at grain fill. So there's so many options, which is good for a crop, but it's daunting when you're starting the industry because you don't know which ones to grab. And that is frustrating because we know they're there. We just got to focus on some winners. So my job has been in the early days to say, well, what's the use of setting up anything unless we work out what to grow, when and where and why? So we're growing, as I said, from 10 degrees south to 40 degrees south. That's, you know, Africa and South America. It's, you know, it's Americas to Canada, Mexico to Canada almost. So we're lucky. We can help the world, you know, identify the latitudes and the longitudes and the altitudes that'll grow the right variety. So we've got seed from Canada, Holland, France, haven't got any from America, they're new, China. And we've got our own varieties after 20 years of breeding. So we have 9 trials all around Australia that I'm the agronomist for. And initially it was only going to be grain. They said it's all about grain. And I said, thank God it wasn't, because we've got more biomass crops now than grain crops, because we sort of reached a peak with our healthy food shops and the fact that we're importing cheap seed from overseas. So until we get our yields up, you know, we're getting... Canada averages 800 kilos a hectare dry land for grain. Biomass, pick a number. You know, I heard 8, 10 and 12 tonnes a hectare. We just harvested 1,000 hectares, 20 tonnes average.
Yeah.
That's huge. It's not good quality for textiles, I'll give you that. But at $500 a tonne, you know, they're making more money than cotton. But like anything, and don't quote me, please, and I won't say who and where, they grew that 20,000 tonnes and the factory reneged on it because of specs. So that's the next thing. Grain, we've got the specs right pretty well. Biomass, what are you growing it for? It has to be redded. How tall? How chopped up? You know, there's a whole science behind this. So all my trials now are not only having grain samples quality tested, protein, size, you know, oil percentage, which is normal testing. We're now doing fiber quality, you know, hurd percentages. So we're doing a whole new specifications of what people want to buy from the farmers and the processors to make all these different products. And until we sort out what those products are, it's a minefield because there's just so many options. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying what we have to do in this industry to make it simpler and easy for investors to get in it. They're gun shy. The other thing about investors is as soon as you say laws, they say those laws can change tomorrow and I can kiss my money goodbye. As some countries goes, you know, America, Thailand, 1 minute it's all legal, next minute you don't know where you are. So that is another challenge. So I say to anyone who wants to grow it, get your contract first, then your license, not the other way around. You know what I mean? I hope that sort of answers your question a little bit, Michael.
Yeah, for sure. So given your experience then, if you could pick, I don't know, 3 constituents of hemp, right? I'll just rattle off a few, right? So you have long, medium, and short fibers, right? Short fibers are going towards, you know, cotton blends. Then you have everything that you can do with the hurd. Let's just break that down into mulch, pellets for heat, also, you know, biochar, and certainly hempcrete. And then you have all your different uses for fiber, all of your different uses for seeds and stuff. But, you know, obviously, given the topographical variety that you have as far as longitude and latitudes go, the different amounts of rain that you do and don't have around certain types of the country, what do you think are the top 3, you know, winning things for Australia? You know what I mean? Like if you were the king of hemp in Australia and you could have your way, what would Australia successfully be doing with hemp in 2030?
Well, I suppose I'll go to the analogy like Texas. Everything's big down under, right? The big pineapple, the big banana, you know, we've got it, everything's big. Outback's big, you know, the horizon, everything's big. So when I say we can grow 6 meters crops, to me, that is a no-brainer, you know, at a massive crop. It's a great soaker of sewage and biosolids out of the ground. It can use the nutrients really well. It does need fertilizer. Don't believe it doesn't, especially if you're growing it 6-7 meters, you know, in 6 months. So one crop is a 6 meter tall, massive crop. Probably not good textile because they're thick to hot stand up. They're not, you know, thin for fiber. So that's a hemp hurd crop. And that's what we've been relying on. Big tonnages of hurd. Separating the fiber, we couldn't sell it. We burnt it, made charcoal, made compost, you know, made mulch out of it. So hempcrete building. You know, it's bushfire. I don't have to teach you. We have bushfires. You guys don't. California does. So you know, our capital city lost 500 houses one year in our capital city. So fire retardant, termite resistant, and I'm in a house in tropical Queensland. I don't have air conditioning. I don't even have a fan. Today was 38, and I'm you know, I had to put this on just because it's night, and I wear a sarong in my house. So the hempcrete insulation, fireproofing of the lime mix, that is a no-brainer. That is a no-brainer. And if you've got a less quality of that, that's animal bedding, right? And if they've got less quality and got rained on, that's your mulch. So whether you want them or not, they're the products you're going to get, right? Hempcrete, first quality. We're importing it from overseas at the moment sometimes. Crazy. Animal bedding, crazy. We can grow big crops of hemp, massive crops. They'll make good money at the tonnage and the price, and they'll have those products. The hempcrete's number 1, the animal bedding's number 2, no fiber in it, and number 3 is the mulch, all right? So what do you do with the textile? We've got to find now something to do with that less than top-notch quality textile. It's not cotton quality, and it might be short, might be long, although you could have long. Doesn't need retting. So that's the unknown for me, because we've had guys go broke because they can't sell the fiber. We are now selling that to India and China at last. And guess what? We're not going to America anymore to learn. We're going back to China, because Phil Warner 20 years ago went to China. I've got his slides. He showed me the videos. 4 people I know have all been to China in the last month, including Americans. Jeff Goff, Steve Jeff, write that name down. I'll give it to you. He's just come back. He's done some great shots. Margaret River Hemp in Western Australia just come back. Like, they were just making mulch out of it and worm compost. I'm going to share something with you. The biochar we're making from hemp in huge, big paralysis machines where they make compost and everything, he put some hemp through, not just the timber trees he's culling. They got, you can quote me, 85% reduction in methane in the cattle, 9% increase in body weight. Now that is a game changer. And where does it end up? Shits out in the paddock where they want to get it anyway. So that is a game changer. If we can, biochar has all the good things, but what if you can pass it through an animal and make their body efficient, more efficient, by increasing body weight and decreasing farting and burping and methane? That's on one of our trial sites. It was amazing. So biochar is a winner. You know, I've got Japanese companies here, I won't say their names, wanting to use biochar. Like, it's just the in thing at the moment, you know. Everyone wants biochar. And we spoke about the textiles. I can't pick one for the textiles other than, you know, the ropes, the simple, cheap, you know, the lower end of the. We're going to make our money out of 70% hurd. The 30% fiber or 25% fiber will go where it can. I'm an agronomist. I'm a dirt doctor. I'm not a textile guru. Sorry.
Sure. Well, if you have fibers that are of low quality, I know a paper mill in India who would take it.
We're talking to Pakistan and India as we speak, yeah. And You mentioned global, all right, because we said the herd will stay here, but the higher quality will go elsewhere. We have started a group now called the Global Hemp Group, because what you're doing is what we want to do. We want these CGIARs that have spent billions on all the other crops. We want them now to invest in hemp. And they like doing it in developing countries. And I've worked and speak Cambodian, Khmer, because we do rural development in developing countries in the Philippines. And I say the same. If you guys got hemp legalized, you could grow another crop. So we are starting a conglomerate of like-minded people in Africa, Asia, and Australia to do exactly what you want to do. Spread the word, make it evidence-based. It's a research, R&D, and extension program with a bolted-on legal framework. It's not just another crop doing R&D. It's actually R&D and extension, using that Landcare approach, that bottom-up rather than top-down approach we talked about. And the last component is, as I was saying, pass. I said it before. The legal framework. We got to have a legal framework that works. If we're promoting this globally, we can't just shoot from the hip and rely on some other country to come up with their own laws. I've got a guy in Thailand. You should know him, Stephen Sarich. He's part of our team. He's written laws for some states in America. He lives in Thailand. He's part of our team. He is now writing for Pakistan their laws, their draft laws, because they want to swap cotton with hemp in the textiles, and they're saying, how can we do it? At a university there in Pakistan on 100 hectares. You know, that was last week we got that inquiry. So, because we've got this team that's part of this Australian Centre for International Ag Research. It's like FAO. It's like your USDA, or it's USAID overseas. So we partner with overseas countries to help them develop new innovative ideas. In this case, hemp.
Okay.
Very cool.
Tom, you got some questions?
Yeah, just a little retort as well. I think it's very interesting to see the hemp being like a catalyst between different crops, the possibility that it provides there, and also adding to the crop rotation in Australia, but also in developing countries in Africa and all around. It seems like there's a lot of countries being willing to look into hemp and to progress it as well. And I found the insight from the cattle with hemp biochar very, very incredible to hear, because Australia is a big cattle producing cattle country as well, right? So that could be
Absolutely.
a nice synergy with the industrial hemp, with the mulch and the animal bedding, as well as with the biochar you were telling about. So in that way, the hemp plant is a good catalyzer, bringing a lot of different areas together, which has been missing for a long time, of course. And the insight from you that for Australia, with the climate, it makes a lot of sense to focus on the hemp hurd, of course, because the weather conditions allow for a lot of biomass creation, and the biomass production makes it profitable and makes the business case work to provide source materials for the hempcrete, for the mulch, for the animal bedding, for the biochar. So it's very cool to see what the climate and the local conditions, what the impact is on the hemp business model.
I just want to pick up on what you said then too. Thanks, Tom. Working in developing countries, which, as you heard, I do in Cambodia, and Philippines, and Africa. What are the two basic needs in life? Food and shelter.
Mm-hmm.
Hemp is the superfood. It's got more protein than a legume, than a pulse crop. More protein, and it's not a legume. And it's an oilseed as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a superfood, bar none. And we can turn the fiber and the stems into building. in Africa, they don't use lime. They use mud. They got mud. They got no more trees to cut down for the kilns to cook the bricks anymore.
Mm.
So instead of the lime, if they haven't got lime, they can just add soil or mud to the hemp, because they have mud houses as well. So they just put mud with the hurd, get a bit more insulation and the same effect and product as they've been doing for their culturally appropriate buildings for years. So food and shelter in developing countries, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and it's something which can be, you supply the seeds and it can be grown locally, and also from that, grow out like a oil spill, no pun intended, and provide.
Well, it can clean up your oil spill as well, can't it? It can clean up as a soak. The animal bedding, they use that in Kanaf as the oil spills. They use that in the Gulf oil spills. So, it's amazing. Amazing. And that's why we just got to pick some low-hanging fruits, get some supply chains from the whole supply chain sorted, and get some runs on the board before we go off on too many tangents. There's so many options. We're blind. We just can't focus. That's, I think, the biggest issue.
And what is the main focus for you right now?
So I've been the privilege in these last 3 years, after 20 with the commercial industry, I've worked for the federal government to do those national trials. So we have the national trials funded by the federal government, and it's just been funded for another 4 years. And there's another research centre called Cooperative Research Centre for hemp. And that's the one that's doing all the biomass quality analysis at the university to see don't just grow this stuff. We don't know what we're growing. We're selling it. And the guy is saying, it's not what I wanted. It's not what I ordered. It's not the specs. So what are the specs? And I've been in meetings where there are now international hemp specs. That's a group of people worth chasing up. They're based in America.
Okay.
Hemp specifications.
Are there any specific legislations in Australia that's slowing down progress?
Yes and no. I'm an ex-agricultural extension officer, so I used to defend the government saying, no, there's nothing holding it up. There's nothing holding it up. You just go and pay your license, which is, like car license or a gun license. You go and pay that, tick the box and move on. It's only $1,000, don't get upset. But people used to say that was a reason why people weren't getting into it. I don't believe it was. But now that I'm also on the inside and the outside, there are things like seed movement and regulation. You cannot plant hemp as a regenerative ag green manure cover crop. For God's sake, that's what their Department of Ag's prime comment is, to do that. But hemp, you can't. So, that's just bad laws. So I don't believe the laws are hindering the industry, but it does because the investors are gun shy. The investors are worried about changing the law. So why get into an industry where it's dysfunctional or full of hippies or smokers? I've never smoked in my life, but I've had government people accuse me of being one of them. I was not happy, I assure you.
Mm.
And we have separated the legal from the hemp medicinal and the CBDs from the hemp. But most people want to bring them together, and I think that'd be a disaster. But that's my opinion.
So, it's important to get more security into the market from the legislation side, but also, like you say, from the specifications of the hemp plant itself.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think a good mantra of yours is to build from the ground up, or from the soil up.
Yeah, it is. I haven't mentioned that, the crops after hemp. It's my business is called Hemp Farming Systems, because I've got to work out where hemp fits into your rotation. That's what it's all about. And when potato growers say we just yielded 30% more potatoes at so many $1,000 a tonne, a hectare more, that's exciting because it's soil biology, it's soil health, it's soil carbon. These are all the add-on things. We haven't even spoken about them. We're just trying to say so many tonnes, so many dollars a hectare, right? That's a gross margin. Do you grow it or not? Do you make money, profit? What about all these other things? The carbon in the soil biology, the fertility, the following crop. What does it benefit? That's why we need all these sayings. People say it's going to save the world and, doesn't use water and doesn't need fertilizer. That's where we need empirical data to prove this right way or wrong way or in the middle where it actually is. And we just need a bit of science. Now, farmers are great scientists, so, let's learn from the farmer. I've watched farmers. I've learnt that we can grow not only in summer hemp in Australia. It gets a bit warm down here, doesn't it? So our winters are like some places' summers.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to grow hemp all year round, and we've done it, and we're going to grow it in winter because it's not a summer crop. It doesn't need 15 degrees soil temperature to germinate like corn and sorghum. Hemp can germinate at 5 degrees. In fact, it hates the heat. It doesn't like germinating on a hot day. I've seen crops die germinating. It cooks the seed, the oil. It's the lowest boiling point of any oil seed. So it goes rancid in the ground. It cooks it. If you don't dry your hemp grain at harvest in 24 hours and it's a bit wet, you'll lose the lot. You'll lose the whole truck in 24 hours. So it's not easy to grow hemp. Everyone says hemp's easy. If you get something wrong in that whole supply chain, you will come a gutser. So what I'm just saying is that hemp has some unique characters, so it can germinate. It'll handle seedlings, will handle snow on them. -15 frost. As long as it's 20 degrees in the day with a bit of sun, they survive. So that we've just worked out we can plant hemp in southern Australia where it's that Mediterranean climate of hot, dry summers and cool, wet winters. We only grow winter crops there. We cannot grow summer crops in southern Australia. That's 10 million hectares we can now grow hemp on in winter, not just irrigated. That is a huge game changer for Australia, but if it's good enough for us, it means other people with that same Mediterranean-type climate can also try winter hemp. And I'm not talking tropics. We already grow hemp all year round in the tropics because it is warm enough. But in southern Australia, southern Africa, Mediterranean climates, we are now got trials in to prove what we've already proven. We can grow hemp in a cool, moist, wet, dry land. We're not irrigating. Dry land. 10 million hectares of dry land. That's unique. That's something different.
Yeah, and probably, if I can imagine, it also opens up room for other varieties and other end users with a different climate during the winter. And can you tell me from your agronomical background a bit more about the influence of the hemp crop on the soil and how that works? Do you have some truths you have experience to share about that? And maybe some
So you said varieties, yes. So those dry land varieties will need to be short, quick season, not tall crops at all. They're just a quick 3-4 months opportunity crop for grain, not much stubble. So your question on varieties, we've brought in varieties from all around the world and had to test them because we've got such a climatic range and products needed. Now, your question was on what it does to the soil. No, I'm an agronomist, and that's exactly what I want to know, Tom. We're trying to put numbers on this, We're trying to capture the soil testing. We've got satellites mapping carbon now in Kenya on our cotton farms and all around the world. They're doing it. It's calibrated. We can now measure whole countries. So we want to measure the change in hemp paddocks of what it does to the soil and why those yields increase. Is it just disease control? Is it nutrition? Is it trace elements? What is it? Biology? I can say I've seen, the hydro mulching where they pour it out on the side of the roads, hydro mulching with the seed in it, and it repairs all the land. We put hemp in a couple of trial sites, and it's horrible. It's mine sites, it's cut areas, there's no fertility, and it's tough to grow without a lot of fertilizer. We were putting hemp in as the hurd and the fibre, and the biology just makes that. It's like when you cut areas on lasering and irrigation, you cut the soil and you expose the subsoil. You can put all the fertilizer in the world and it still doesn't grow well. It's not until you put the topsoil back or the biology back. So hemp is acting as that synergist. If without that biology, it's what it's all about. If I was 22 years again at uni, I'd be studying satellites, drones, and soil biology. And hemp would be in there.
So if I'm correct, a combination of the mulch from hemp and the fibers, when you cover that on the soil, which is, for example, polluted, that would help the growth of the seeds you are putting in there to regenerate the soil.
So there's PFAS.
Mm-hmm.
There's PFAS is one of the pollutants. We're putting it into sewage treatment plants, which has got everything where the sewage goes. That big crop I can show you. That crop there. See the people? You can see how big that 7-meter crop is. So that is on biosolids, human waste. And so hemp just somehow is able to use biosolids, sewage. It does take up PFAS, they've recorded that, and heavy metals. Now, where does it go? That's my question. I wouldn't want them in my house, would you? If it goes in the hurd, I don't want to buy that.
Yeah,
so you've got to be
say
very
it
careful
goes into the leaf, but I would like
you
to...
tell me. I do not know. Is it in the roots, the stems, or the leaves?
But
Until I know that.
Leaves, but I would like to see the clear evidence of that. What is the disposition of the heavy metals and PFAS throughout the hemp plant? They say it's mostly in the leaf.
But guess what? In Australia, our license says the leaf cannot leave the paddock. The leaf cannot leave the field. Yeah. So it's coming back again.
Yeah,
so it just goes round and round. So that's why we need to know.
Did you read the results from the Belgium research into the PFAS contaminated fields?
No, sorry.
Oh, okay. I will share it afterwards. It's from C Biotech. They did some research with test plots in Belgium with PFAS contaminated soils, and they had very impressive results with PFAS cleaning capabilities of industrial hemp.
Fantastic. There's a lot of talk, so I'd love to see the data, as you said, so that'd be great. I just read something about Germany wanting to do a lot more with hemp fiber than cotton, and they're using the same machines, the cottonizers, for some of that short cotton to process hemp, not just cotton. It was only last week, in fact.
Okay.
I think we've been touching on a lot of legendary things so far. I think some really, by legendary I just mean like really big, cool ideas. What are some of the biggest, let's say, myths and misnomers that let's say annoy you, right? Like there are plenty of things that I've heard about hemp that I find to be untrue or misleading, or let's just say being used for marketing purposes and building hype, but maybe, like I said, not completely true, maybe rooted in truth, but as you know, like you say, you have a lot of time with this plant, so I'm sure there are, educate us, let's say.
I mentioned in the preamble that as an agronomist, it really, gets my back up when I hear hemp needs no water, needs no fertilizer, and has no pest. Now, I hate to break the sad news, guys. I cannot tell that to a farmer because, yes, there might be unique situations where, you don't have a pest yet. But Heliothis, the cotton grub, that cotton used to be sprayed 10 times for, and now they've bred the genetics so it doesn't have to be sprayed. So that's good. It means they're not spraying everything, but we don't know the consequences of the GMO in the plant that stops the Heliothis. But we ain't got that in hemp. Yes, there are some varieties that are purple that I've been told has this natural resistance to pests. But I've had to spray lots of Heliothis infested hemp grain crops at flowering. I haven't had to spray many for disease at all, hardly. Maybe a bit of seed treatment. And these are all licensed and registered in Australia to do. Weeds, yes, I agree. If you've got a good cover 6-metre crop, you'll never see a weed under that, I assure you. You get lost in it and the weeds get lost. But if it's a short little 1-metre tall grain only crop, I assure you, you can have weeds taller than the hemp if you don't get it right. And lastly, water. To grow that 6-metre, all right, the 1-metre crop, I would budget on 2 or 3 megalitres per hectare. That's a meg per acre. And the big ones, you're talking 8 megs. So that's 2-3 megs an acre. So that's on flood irrigation, spray irrigation, whatever. I have seen some of those best crops ever on some of our polluted rivers. As you know, in America, all your drains and catchments are full of fertilizer and dead fish. And we've got a guy on the end of our tail drain, the biggest catchment in Australia, the Murray-Darling. He has 6-metre tall crops 3 years in a row, flood irrigated, yes. He uses 8 megs to grow 6 metres tall and get 20 tonnes a hectare. He's never fertilised because it's all in the water. He's got biology. He's got dead carp. He's got fish. He's got blue-green algae. And just to make your day, he's selling the drainage water to treat antibiotic-resistant aquaculture. Think about that. He's not selling the Darling River that's fertilising his stock, because anyone can pump that out and sell it. It's coming through his hemp crop. And they are lined up with wine tankers, semi-trailer loads, wine tankers, to pick up this tailwater, drainage water, to treat Now, what did I say? It's all in the biology. They don't know what it is, but they got the hints that it's doing better than the antibiotics-resistant aquaculture farms down the road. So, like I said, there's a lot of talk, but you got to defend. You just got to ask for the science behind it. Yeah, the hype, but when people get under commit, because then you can over deliver, not the other way. Don't over promise and under deliver. That's why people aren't investing in this industry, because we talk it up too much. Yes, I'll go and say it's the best thing to do, but do it within the framework and the reality of known knowledge, not just hearsay. Sorry.
Yeah, for me on the textile side, so I've been more or less dealing with textiles in one form or another, just for over 10 years. And I always tell people that there's so much like marketing hype about the textile in general, like as compared to polyester. Don't get me started on that. And of course, compared to cotton. I'm not saying that all the data, excuse me, I'm not saying that all the data is true, but some of the more interesting things for me that I think of as, a business owner who's trying to make things from hemp textiles, it's like the market itself. So like the people who buy, the customers are a bit on the fence about hemp because we see all these memes on Facebook and LinkedIn and other things saying, oh, hemp fiber is 10 times more strong than cotton, or I'm just making things up, et cetera, et cetera. And then they go, okay, well, all right, if that's true, then if I go through my closet, maybe just maybe I'll find one thing made out of hemp. And the reality is that they find zero things made out of hemp. And so if hemp is so miraculous, then how is it that they're finding zero things? Even how is it that they're not even accidentally buying something hemp based or derived with hemp? And so yeah, there's this huge disconnect, and I think that of many things like that are also making investors kind of skittish, right? Because it's definitely a cart before the horse situation that we have. We're saying, hey, we have this super crop that can save humanity. um and I have no doubt that that's true,
Yeah,
if properly managed, etc.
yeah,
Because you can eat it, you can wear it, you can live in it, etc. Hemp is really cool, and it definitely should be part of our portfolio, you could say, of solutions that we're using to mitigate climate change and pollution and all these other things. But yeah, that's also part of the reason why we wanted to start this podcast, because there's so much good talking points, and we're trying to find the real ones.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with that completely. I went to a cotton farm, biggest cotton farm, sustainable. It's using that satellite to measure the carbon increase. They have a cotton gin. They want to grow hemp, but we were there teaching them how to grow hemp in their cotton farm, and hopefully we'll put hemp through their gin. They are putting rare earth traceability into the lint as it's getting woven. Then they send it overseas. The next day they showed us, I don't know the names of the bloody clothing industry, but they were all there on their doorstep in their Learjets the next day, paying 10% more than their flat average price of Australian cotton for that very reason. They can identify their farm. So when you wear it and walk into the stores, it actually says, you're wearing my Australian-made blah, blah, blah brand shirt. So, like marketing, it's just, it blew me away what they were doing with cotton. So the world's the limit, but it's got to be based on fact. And that's, and in fact, unfortunately, in this day and age, you can get away without a lot of facts these days, as you know.
For sure.
Right,
So
the best shirt I've ever had, Michael, is 40% silk. 40%
okay.
silk. It's not the scratchy, work shirt anymore. It becomes the soft, strong shirt. Blew me away. Absolutely gorgeous.
Nice. My favorite hat is a beanie, and it's a hemp hat, and I've tried. So we do a lot of knitting projects, and I've tried to do like as thick of a hat as possible, right? So just more threads coming together to create a thicker yarn, so that you have a thicker hat result, right? And the reality for me is that, so I'm one of these strange people. Like I would be wearing a beanie right now. Like I'm one of those people who wear a beanie in the summertime. Like I've ever since I've been a kid, I've always worn hats all the time. But the reality is that something made from bast fibers, right? So canaf, linen, hemp, or otherwise, is very breathable, but it's also not very insulating. It is insulating, but if you have a cold winter wind and it's below 0 Celsius, or 32 for the Americans, hemp, it's too cold. You need something with wool in it. You need something that's actually going to help to insulate you. But for me, like doing outside work on a 5 Celsius, 40-degree Fahrenheit day with a hemp beanie on, it's perfect. You know what I mean? So I think there's a time and a place for hemp. There's a time and a place for cotton, and God forbid, occasionally there's a time and a place for synthetics.
Yes. And I like what you just said. It's not either or. Remember we said it's not either or, it's both for the niche. We're just going to find the niche. You seen that one? That's our factory in Melbourne. That's a 303 3:03 at 2:00 in the morning.
Okay, well, for anybody who wouldn't be watching this on video, can you explain a bit more about what you're holding, what it is, why it's shaped like that, what's its purpose is, what's it made of?
H-iron or an I-beam. So structural wood, timber, and aluminium replacement, 6-ton load. So we have the hemp house with the load-bearing components. And China's been telling us they got bulletproof flak jackets and helmets. So my farmer who grew it on the Darling, where I said, the factory came back with this and said, here it is, there's your product. He said, it's not bulletproof, is it? Bang. And it just ricocheted off.
Ah, there is the impact. Crazy.
Everyone keeps cutting my samples up, so I keep losing. The samples get shorter and shorter. This is
you just need to
laminate.
take it back to the gun range.
That's laminate, okay? Laminate. That's pure hemp. No glues. Just the green stem with the resins in it. Heating and pressurizing the green stem from harvest into a natural whole hemp plant glued laminate top.
Okay, so just to back up on that piece that you just held up there. So what you're saying is that is created when you fresh cut hemp before retting, let's just say before seeding, right? So it's a fresh cut hemp
dry,
that's been
flowering,
stripped of its leaves and compressed.
Yep, so it's like green, wet, lucerne alfalfa.
Got it.
Think about that. That's come from America, so find out where that technology. Okay. Now, the next one is the hurd. Here, this one. So you got the hurd and the animal bedding or going in your house. We haven't got any binder, have we? So what do we put in? We inoculate it with mycelium.
Mm.
It grows through it. It's the backbone, it's the structure, it's the reinforcing. You kill it, press it, you have reinforced mycelium hemp hurd. In America, in Australia now. I mean, it's all R&D, there's never-ending R&D.
Mm.
But that sort of stuff just blows me away.
Nice. Is there any just since you had mentioned it, is there any estimate besides your house how many hempcrete houses there might be in Australia?
350 last year.
Okay. And does it require special, license or permissions or anything like that? Or are they starting to become more relaxed about it?
So every state has laws to growing it. So it's not a national law. Each state is bloody different. So that's a problem. But for building, that's to growing. For building, it's then local, local shire, local region. So that, again, has different rules. But if you get it signed off, hemp wood, hemp products at the national level, that they then can't argue. So you just have to go through a national building code. So the local, you don't have to do it every local code. You just got to convince them and do the sales pitch. Otherwise, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Nice. Tom, you got any more questions?
Not from the top of my head, actually. No.
Yeah. Well, John, you have anything else? What do you think we haven't covered? Anything you really wanted to talk about today that we haven't gone over?
Well, it depends on what you guys are into. I'll reflect on today. I'll read more about you guys and what you are and what you want to do, and maybe suggest some people as well if down your alley. Right? But, there's the breeding, that's out of my area, but it's exciting because we haven't done any of it for so long. It's a whole new, what does hemp respond to? So the breeding.
Earlier you were talking about and again, like I said, we can edit this thing out. So right now I figure we're just in conversation mode. So earlier you were saying that you haven't tried any of the varieties from the States yet. And I can say from somebody, so I'm from the States, but living in Poland, a massive percentage of the genetics in the States right now is Polish. And so, I would say I'm not really sure the Poland equivalent for Australia so far as places to grow. But, Poland is very, let's just say, Canadian-like, and American Midwest like as far as rain goes, and things like that. So you never know which
Latitude
varieties would
50.
work.
So you know where latitude 50 is in Australia? It's in the Antarctic Ocean.
Yeah,
Never
I see.
mind.
So there's Poland. There's Poland. So 50 is here, south of Africa. So I have this next to me because I get so many bloody calls every day. I got to pull this out and say, "Where the hell are you?" So we have grown canola, and it does really bloody well.
Okay, I know this. I know this.
And there's a company here. There's several companies now. There's several decorticators here. There's several grain companies, and there's several seed companies. And one of them is Hanola from. And I've met the two Polish breeders. They were here at our conference.
Okay.
And I wrote a paper in with him about winter growing hemp because he gave me all the stats from the Russian and the Chinese and the Canadians' temperatures that they can handle. So I wrote a paper with the Polish hemp breeding company, the government one. You know
Okay.
them. You know them.
I'm sure I do, but other people might not. Could you name the person?
I got to pronounce it properly. Hang on. It was right here. Here it is. Yes, look at that. It is Dr.
Przemysław? Oh, I can't read your camera, sir, but I'm going to assume it's Przemysław, perhaps.
There's two came. One was the marketing guy and one was the breeder. It's from the IWNIRZ.
Yeah.
And it's Barra Enki. Barra Enki is the surname, and it's Prim. We call him Prim.
You call him Prim. Okay.
Prim.
All right. Well,
Prim.
I'll put it in my notes about Prim. You can send me some scans of those if you want. We can put them on show notes and have them on the website or whatever. Yeah, there's so the internet. I just call them the INF for short, the Institute of Natural Fibers. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting work going on there.
Mm.
Yeah, so I love talking to global people. We learn so much. People say you can't grow it in winter. Then you talk to people from latitude 50 and they say, and I've seen it grow all winter. The weeds, the self-sown weeds, they grow all winter. And I'm saying, why aren't we growing it in winter?
Right. I'm one of these people who there are some countries, very few, in fact. I think Thailand for now is one of them, at least for the moment, from what I've been told, is that they're basically allowed to grow any variety as hemp in some form or another, which means that they have access to the complete genome. They perhaps, and I'm just saying perhaps, they perhaps are going to be able to find the best fiber variety or the best seed or oil variety or whatever because they don't have these THC caps. If we're only growing for hurd or if we're only growing for fiber, who really cares if the flowers, which don't get a chance to mature anyways, could produce 5% THC or something? I think we need to be able to make sensible, what's the word I want to use? Whatever. Certain laws need to be sensible, You
still got to grow seed for that crop, though, that is high. You still got to grow the seed for that crop to plant.
Right.
Sorry.
Right. That's true. That's true.
Technical point.
Right.
So Steve Sarich in Thailand is a legal guru, part of our global team. He says it's dysfunctional in Thailand. They just had their conference there. They just had one in Pakistan. They just had 4 in Africa this week. Last month. I can't keep up.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why today
Well,
was a bit of a blur. I apologize, gentlemen.
sure. There needs to be at the very least a good website that shows all of these different conferences that are happening, right?
Here. Because it's the blind leading the blind, or everyone's saying, we need to do all this. I said, well, don't reinvent the wheel, that we haven't got enough money, industry to do everything. So let's allocate it up and spread the load. You Europeans are good at specs and bloody, we've sent samples to America, to Europe, to test the specs, because that's what you guys do in your sleep. We don't have a manufacturing industry. Our peak research bodies sold all their wool gear the other day, all their wool research, spinning and testing. We sold it all. Shut the department down, and we need jobs. Anyway, I won't get into my pet hobby horse, but hemp has opportunity to really value add regionally to employment, to sustainability, to new products, to labor and skills. That's and globally connected.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm
All right.
passionate,
Well,
as you can see, I am passionate.
oh no, I love the passion. So I think that Tom and I are all out of questions, and we've tried to dig up some things that we might have missed. So I guess just take a few minutes to tell the crowd about who you are, how they can find you, how they can collaborate with you, perhaps some things that you are looking for in particular that you might be missing that you need collaborations with, and the floor is yours.
Thanks, Michael, and thanks, Tom. I really appreciate having the opportunity to do this because, as I said, I originally started with Landcare, an Australian initiative that went global and gave me the opportunity to work with local communities in Africa, Cambodia, and the Philippines. And what that led me to see was that there's an opportunity for some of these orphan and abandoned crops like kanaaf and hemp to solve their basic human needs of shelter and food and shelter. And here's the hemp plant, high protein, high oil, the strongest bloody, plant in the world with its rope, unique properties, huge biomass as a fodder, as a forage, as a unique plant. So with all those attributes, we are now not only developing things in Australia, but we want to take them further and get a group of people who can help take the word of hemp, which is not over-exaggerated, the real, grassroots story on hemp, to developing countries so that we can then work together and share the knowledge so that we can progress sustainably with livelihoods, address some of the problems of soil degradation, soil poisons and PFAS. So there are so many opportunities for this plant. We can't do it all at once. I think we do got to share the load. And with the new technology like this, we don't have to do everything. We can share what you're good at and spread that around the world and help each other move forward. Because it's an industry that has to be decentralized and regional. Sure, the high-level textiles might go overseas, but generally, I do believe it has to be a regional industry. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Tom. I didn't say my sales pitch. I'm just looking for my card. So, hi guys, it's John Muir in Australia. I'm in Queensland, so it's subtropical. It's about 26, 27, 28 latitude. My email is john@hempfarmingsystems, one word, john@hempfarmingsystems.com.au. And the website will be www.johnmuir.au, www.johnmuir.au. And there is another one I work with. It's called Hemp Proof. That's another website and company I work with. But at the moment, I'm working for the federal government, so that's great. So I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm just looking forward. available from now on. After 20 years, I'm looking forward to help at a global level, not just at a local level. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome.